Hello, welcome to Beach View, our podcast about all sorts of things and stuff.
Yep, and today we're doing another current viewings.
Yeah, we haven't done this in a while.
Nope. So I guess I'll start. I have been currently viewing Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which is a 2003 video game. It's an RPG, if you know what that is.
RPG.
Role-playing game.
Okay. I knew that.
It means you create a character and you have little stats that go up and down that you get to choose.
Oh, I got you.
And usually that means they're particularly story focused, as is the case with this game. And it's, a Star Wars game, so you get to be one of the people with laser swords running around to do space magic. You remember that from when we watched Star Wars.
I do remember that. The lightsabers or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Isn't that what they're called? Yeah.
Yes, that is. I mean, that's pretty, it's a saber made of light. It's pretty easy.
A laser sword. I like that better.
Well, it's a sword that's a laser, so...
Yeah, I got you. So you get to be the person
Yes.
with the laser sword.
Well, not at first. That's part of the plot. But yeah, I played this game. Like I said, it's a 2003 game, so it's a throwback. And I like this genre a lot. It's one of my favorite video game genres of RPGs, particularly of this era. Because this is the era, they were, a lot of the computer RPGs previous to this were top-down. So...
What's that mean?
Oh, God.
You don't have to get into it. If it's
Isometric. I don't know how to explain this, is the problem.
Okay.
It's you know it when you see it. It's you use a mouse,
Okay.
and you click your character and then click again for where you want them to move.
Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And then in this era, you start getting to where you, you can play it on a controller.
Mm-hmm.
If you so choose, or you use the keyboard and the mouse to look around and the keyboard to move the character instead of so it puts you in more direct control instead of do you know The Sims?
Yes.
It's like the control in The Sims is what the previous era of RPGs was.
I got you. Okay, that makes sense.
And this is one of, it gets complicated, but at least from this company, it's just BioWare, they're famous for this genre of game, that this is one of the first, and it established a lot of modern RPG tropes and conventions going forward, particularly for this development company. One of their games, game series in future that is still, I think ongoing to this day. I'm not sure what the status of that is, actually. But,
okay.
It's basically what if this, but with Star Wars stripped out and our own universe put in instead. So it's very influential, and it's interesting to go back and play something that is so influential in its genre. And also, I guess replay, because I have a weird relationship with this one, actually, because I first watched a YouTube video of it, or YouTube video series that was a playthrough of it, and then played the sequel. So this is technically my first time playing through this game, but I already knew basically everything that was going to happen, so...
Okay.
And yeah, I guess now's as good a time as any to go into the plot synopsis.
Yeah, tell me about this game.
Okay, so, let's see. You know about the Space Wizards, right?
When you say about the Space Wizards, do you mean from the movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to rely on your knowledge of the one movie you saw.
Yes, okay, the Space Wizards, yeah.
Yeah, so, you have the good guy Space Wizards called the Jedi, and the bad guy Space Wizards called the Sith.
Okay.
Oh, also, I don't think it gets mentioned in the movie, but you have the Republic and the Empire that's in the movie the Empire's dominant, so the, Republic's the Rebellion's trying to fight to reestablish the Republic.
Right.
And obviously that's the, good side and bad side, respectively. Star Wars is a very, pulpy series, and it has that very, pulpy sense of morality where you have the, like, very good heroes who are always, like, saving the day and doing the right thing, and the very evil bad guys who, like, cackle maniacally as
Right.
they, blow up entire planets and stuff.
Yes.
And in this one takes place 4,000 years before the movie. That's why it's called Knights of the Old Republic.
Interesting.
And the inciting incident is that, so a bit of, like, background for it. There's this warrior culture who decides to, like, launch an attack on the Republic, and, the Jedi, who are, like, religious order and warrior monks, and also tied in with the government in a way that's not, like, explained in this game, but is, like, implied from some of the other movies. There's a weird political thing going on there, but it's not really relevant. I just feel like mentioning it for some reason. But they're, like, the Jedi want to go, like, fight in the war and stop this warrior culture from invading the Republic, but the leaders of the Jedi don't want them to do that. So these main two Jedi decide, screw it, we're doing it anyways. They do that, they win, and then they disappear for a few months and come back as evil.
What?
They become the Sith. And they decide they're going to form a Sith Empire, and they start a new war with the Republic.
What?
And, so the Jedi decide, okay, well, we're going to try to, kill the main bad guy. And that's how the game starts, is the main bad guy's killed, and in the incident that did that, you start as a soldier aboard a ship that is leaving from that, I don't know if they're leaving directly from that incident or, like, soon after. But you're leaving soon after, and you get attacked by the Sith and end up crash landing on a planet. There's this, like, big city planet where, like, the whole, it's, like the Jetsons, where everything's on these, like, big struts. It's like that. And you gotta, like, go through and find the main Jedi who's, like, captain of your ship or whatever, and find them and then escape the planet you crash landed on. And during the course of this, you end up running into a bunch of people and they start following you around for various reasons. It's a cast of characters, and then you can, like, talk to them in the game, and they have their own, like, quests and opinions on everything that's going on. It's a staple of this genre, and it really gets fleshed out here. Because this is one of the first of this genre that's, like, fully voice acted.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so, and you do that, eventually, you find your way off the planet. There's, like, a whole relatively long section on that first planet. You, rescue the Jedi, find your way off the planet, and then, the second-in-command evil bad guy, who's now the first-in-command evil bad guy, decides to blow up the whole planet.
Oh.
Yep.
Not cool.
To really show how he's evil, yeah. And, then you fly off and go to the Jedi planet, and because you start having visions of the evil bad guy.
Oh.
Who's the main evil bad guy who died, and then, like, you find out through these visions, like, what they were doing before. And so the Jedi are like, oh, you're Force sensitive. The Force is, from the movies, it's the magic power juice. But, yeah, so it turns out you have the magic power stuff. And because you're having these visions, you can use them to try to find out what were the evil bad guys doing that made them so powerful, and they were looking for this ancient artifact known as the Star Map. So you become a Jedi because, they're like, well, we need to train you in our ways since you're Force sensitive. So you do that, and you do that really quickly. Like, apparently the quickest anybody's ever done it. This will come up later.
Okay.
And, then you go find the Star Map, which apparently points to the Star Forge, and is this some, like, ancient technology that was created by this, like, really ancient empire, and apparently has some sort of great power, and you're trying to find out that, what the evil people are doing with it, and you're following in their steps.
So you're trying to prevent the evil people from prevailing?
Yes.
Okay.
Presumably. I mean, at the end you can, you're allowed to be good or evil. It's an RPG, you have choices.
Okay, so, I got it.
But either way, you are like going along this quest, and then at the end, you get to choose whether or not you're good and you help the Republic, or you're evil and you take over the Sith Empire.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, and throughout the various points in the game, you're presented with choices where you can be good or evil. Yeah, so they find this map, and it's an incomplete map because it's, ancient, like thousands of years old. So you have to go to 4 other planets, which also have these maps on them, which are, one of them's the desert planet. If you remember the desert planet from the Star Wars movie, it's that planet.
I do remember that. Okay.
Which, because, that's the famous planet from the movie, apparently the writers can't resist going there. The forest planet, which has the Wookiees, if you remember Chewbacca from the movies.
Yes.
Yes, he's a Wookiee.
Okay.
An ocean planet that has a, valuable resource, and it's the only, planet in the galaxy that has this resource. So it's neutral in this war.
Oh.
And the, evil Sith planet, which is, kind of a dark mirror version of the, Jedi planet.
That's cool.
And you go through these, and you have a plot on each of the planets that eventually leads you to the star map. Or in the case of the Wookiee planet, you can actually just, totally skip the plot.
You can?
Well, not totally, but you can get, halfway through the planet plot and find the star map and say, screw it, I'm out.
Oh.
Which is, so there's the, good leader of the Wookiees who's been exiled and replaced by his evil son, and you get to, choose which of those you want to side with. And then on the desert planet, that one, the main plot's kind of like you do it, and then it's okay, go here to find the star map. It's really short. And then, the ocean planet, which, as I said, they're neutral, and you have to, work with the Republic they've set up, a, mining base for the resource, an underwater mining base. And that's caused problems, so you have to resolve the problems. And then the Sith planet, where you have to join the Sith Academy in order to find the star map.
You have to learn how to be a Sith?
Yeah. Or kind of fate, just be a good guy instead of being a Sith.
Okay.
There's one quest where they want you to go kill some people,
Ooh.
and instead you can, help them escape and say, oh yeah, they're gone.
Oh.
Be vague with your word choices there.
Okay.
And then, yeah, so after 3 of these planets, you get abducted by the evil Sith ship, and then you have to make a daring escape wherein you confront the main bad guy, who reveals that you were actually the evil bad guy the whole time. And you weren't actually killed, you were just severely injured. And then the Jedi decided to destroy your memories and replace them with someone else's. Well, not someone that created memories.
What? Plot twist.
Yes, yeah, but yeah, it's an interesting plot twist because it turns out you were the bad guy the whole time.
How rude.
Yeah, and then you can decide whether or not you want to, be good or, be evil.
Oh, so what did you choose?
Well, I mean, I did both, but on different playthroughs. Also, the main Jedi you've been rolling around with gets captured during this, and she turns evil.
Uh-oh.
Yep. And then, you do your last planet and find the star map, and then you go on to the planet that the star map points to, where you find the remnants of the ancient empire, which are no longer capable of doing their empire thing, and you find the Starforge, which is this giant, space station that can produce basically infinite spaceships, which the Sith have been using to conquer the galaxy. And you end up destroying the Starforge and confronting the evil bad guy. And if you're on the light side, you just win and or wait, you destroy the Starforge if you're on the light side. You keep it if you're on the dark side. I misspoke there. But if you're on the light side, the Republic wins and everybody's all happy because you saved the day, galaxy is saved, and the war's over. If you're on the dark side, you kill your old apprentice who betrayed you, and take over from where you left off before you got memory erased.
Uh-oh.
And that's the plot.
Well, that is very interesting.
I think I like the evil ending better.
I was just gonna ask, like, which way did you like it better?
Yeah, just mostly because, like, if you choose to go evil, you have, like, a conversation with all your companions, and some of them refuse to join you, so you end up having to kill them,
Uh-oh.
and, I don't know, something about... I'm always a mark for, when the, like, protagonist of a video game ends up betraying their longtime companions.
That sounds ominous.
Well, it's just always emotionally effective, you know?
Yeah. Do what you gotta do. I feel like that would be a more interesting ending though.
Yeah.
You know, more drama.
Yeah, but also I feel like the last cutscene of the good ending's just not good.
Oh.
And also, like, one of the issues with this game I have is that it is, like, very committed to the, like, light side, dark side thing in the, like, main plot, like, the endings. But there are multiple points in the game where it, like, pushes back against that.
Oh.
And, like, partially because that, like, whole, like, comically good or comically evil sort of, paradigm was all over the place in video games for this era and would continue to be until, like, I don't know, probably, like, early to mid 2010s.
Okay.
It was just everywhere, so, you know, I'm still sort of like, ugh, this era of video games.
I was going to ask you if it was like how different it was playing like a modern day game and going back to something from that long ago.
Oh, yeah. Well, for one, like, some modern day games will take this paradigm. For the most part, if you're playing, like, an RPG like this, it's a lot more, like, it's not like, oh, are you doing the good guy decision or the bad guy decision? It's like, are you siding with this faction or this other faction? And the factions are sort of like, like, it's less, like, are you gonna be the, you know, epic hero who saves the world? Or are you gonna be the, you know, cruel villain who cackles while they kill everybody? And more like, do you like this one, like, do you think this one faction has more of a point, or is better for the world, or your character that you're making fits in better,
Yeah.
or this other one? Which I think's a more interesting approach, honestly. But, like, I wouldn't mind it so much in this game if it wasn't, like, committed to also pushing back against that at multiple points in the game. Like, there are multiple characters who don't fit cleanly in that paradigm and intentionally don't fit cleanly into that.
Oh.
And it's just annoying to me to be presented that and not be presented like a neutral option, even. You
Right.
know?
Yeah. Like you have to choose.
Yeah, or even to be given some nuance, because, like, I feel like there's a way you, like, choose the light side options, but, like, condemn the Jedi as a body, because, you know, it kind of makes the Jedi Masters, you know, like the leaders of the Jedi, come across as though they suck. Like, you talk to them and it's kind of like, I don't know if I like these people. And also the thing they did where they, like, erase your character's memory and, like, create a new, like, persona in them is kind of messed up, I think.
Yeah.
And you're not given, like, a ton of ability to, like, push back against that.
Okay.
And it does kind of, like, after that point, once you get the reveal, like, you do get a little bit of options to be like, no, I'm not, you know, the person who I was. I'm this new person, the new persona. But you're not really, like, fully allowed to explore that, I feel like.
Oh.
And I feel like if they're going to present that, you know, they really need to commit to it. I don't know. It
You
just
should
bugged
be
me.
able to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yep.
So, how long does it take you to go through one, like, scenario and then, you know, you go back and play, like, the other scenario?
Depends on how fast you're going.
Yeah?
Because there's a lot of, like, optional content. You know, and like I mentioned, like, each of the planets has a main story, and on 3 of 4 of them, you have to do that planet story in order to find the, like, star map. But on one of them, you can just, like, skip half of it, so...
Right. So I guess it depends on what you choose.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's, yeah, like I said, a lot of optional... There's a lot of, like, side quests where, like, and your companions all have... Well, not all of them, but most of them have quests associated with them. So, you know, you get to, like, choose if you want to do those or not.
Yeah. I think it would be fun, though, to, like, go back and play, like, some older games just to see how they're different from ones now.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, one of the things with this is like the starting point for a lot of how this genre is going to be going forward.
I gotcha.
It's a very influential game in that regard, so it's not like all that different, except one thing is this is still like semi turn based. Like you don't like actively swing your sword if you have one.
Okay.
Like press a button to swing the sword. You press a button to queue up an attack on an opponent, and then you watch your character do it. And the majority of like future games in this genre are either like throwback fully to an older era before like I was saying, the Sims control style.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna have like control over it yourself. Like if you're wielding a gun, you'll shoot it yourself.
Right.
Rather than like clicking and then your character will wait to go up and shoot them.
Gotcha. That is very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And this was also one of the like first of these sorts of games to go on consoles instead of just computers.
Okay.
So it's like innovative for that reason.
Okay.
So, and this, because of that was also a lot of people's like first exposure to this genre, and it's also like, a Star Wars game, and it's in the vein of like the movies, so it's got like a very big fan community around it still, especially people who played this game like when they were younger.
Yeah, nostalgia.
Yeah.
I do really love how Star Wars like continues to have this like huge base following, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
anything and everything Star Wars, like people are still gonna play and still gonna be popular no matter how long has gone by.
Yeah, and we talked about that when we watched the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which
is
just
so huge.
If you remember, I was saying, I think from that movie you can see why it spawned all this.
Yes. It's so crazy.
Yeah, this game's definitely trying to evoke the movie in a lot of different ways. Like, the plot kind of follows the same structure and stuff like that.
That's cool.
Except you have side quests.
Of course you do. Love that.
Yeah.
That's fun. Do you think I would like it?
I mean, I don't know. It's... You normally don't like video games, and I don't know, like, how you would like a Star Wars story, you know, or,
you never know.
These games are kind of on the readier side, or, like, the, like, more text side, but there's still a lot of, like, combat, which is actually a critique of mine of a lot of, games from this genre in this era, or I guess in general, there's only been a few that have really, like, pushed back on that.
Yeah, you don't like that?
I feel like they could, like, every game in this genre could have at least 20% less combat, but sometimes as much as, like, 50% less combat would be more interesting for it.
Okay.
But they'd also, like, have to radically rethink some things, and there's some games that do that, but, you know, it's just, in this era, like, combat is everything, just because of various, like, cultural and, like, issues.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. And, like, a lot of the, like, the most popular, tabletop RPGs that this genre, like, got its inspiration from are mostly very combat-focused.
Yeah. I only remember, like, watching people playing video games, like, during that time, and I felt like it was, like, so heavy in combat. Like, I was disinterested, I remember.
Yeah.
During that time period.
Jeff, if you want basically this genre without that, there's, like, visual novels and interactive fiction and, like, certain adventure games that, like, fit into that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess that's what I'm saying. I don't like those sorts of things better than RPGs, but I still like RPGs.
Yeah, I guess it's, like, still, like, interesting to go back, like you did, go back and play, like, an older game, even if it's not, like, your favorite kind of game, like, just as, like, a bit of a different type of thing to do, you know, like, mix it up a little.
Yeah, although I would say this is one of my favorite genres, I just
yeah.
have that little quibble with it.
It's always gotta be something, you know, some room for improvement, you know?
Yeah, less punching and more talking.
Yeah.
That's the best part of these games to me, is the dialogue trees.
Yeah.
Love a good dialogue tree.
And I feel like being able to choose, you know, kind of different ways to go, I think that would be interesting to me. Yeah.
Yeah, so,
okay.
That's my current viewing.
Well, that's fun. It sounds like you've had a lot of interesting reading, role-playing going on there. So, Well, it's kind of the same for mine, minus like the role playing, but mine, of course, is going to be a book that I just finished. It took me quite a while to get through this book because I was reading two books at the same time. Just because this one, like the loan, I was on a hold at the library and the loan came up. So just a little background why it took me so long. But this is The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. So this is an author I've never read before, and it was kind of like a mystery genre. And it took place on a luxury cruise.
Oh.
So it made it more like it kind of evoked like a Death on the Nile type of vibe, but not quite like a whodunit type of thing. It was more of a like, I guess you'd just say like, a mystery. I don't know how else to describe it.
Is it anything like Columbo?
I'm not sure because I'm not like super familiar.
Oh, okay. Well, like you know what like happened? You're just finding out how they get caught?
No.
Oh,
like
okay.
you don't know what happened and you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know anything. You don't know, if this, girl that disappeared, if she actually disappeared or like it's a total, it's keeps you guessing the whole time. So this book was recommended to me and, as I said, I was on a wait list at the library, so it took me a while before I read it, but I'll get into the synopsis. So the novel begins, we have the main character, Laura Blacklock, and she goes by Lo. She's a travel journalist for a magazine called Velocity, and she's kind of like a junior level, and she's trying to get to like a higher level at the magazine. So, but right at the start, she wakes up to a sound in her home, and it's she's being burgled apparently, and she gets real scared. There's a burglar in her house with latex gloves, and she doesn't know why, what's going on, but she is home, and she ends up like going to her bedroom door, and the burglar like slams the door in her face and basically like hits her in the face like with the door. So she's like injured and she's like holding onto the door as hard as she can just so the burglar like won't get into her bedroom. Anyway, she manages to escape. She's super traumatized, and she's already on like medication for anxiety, which comes into play later in the book. But she makes her way over to her boyfriend's house. Her boyfriend wasn't home. And I think like he was like traveling for work or something. And so anyway, so she's safe, but she's like super traumatized from this, okay? But there's this big work opportunity because her boss is like can't make it to this luxury cruise. So, they're invited to go on like the maiden voyage of this luxury yacht cruise in Norway or around Norway. So anyway, so she's taking the place of her boss, and she's like, this is going to be my big break, potentially. Like, I don't want to miss it. Like, I'm super traumatized, but I'm going to go the next day to this, luxury cruise. So we know, automatically, like, something's going to happen on this boat, right? Anyway, so before she leaves, though, she and her boyfriend, his name is Judah, they get in this like argument because he wants to like move forward in the relationship and she's not sure. Anyway, so he says that he like turned down a job opportunity in New York in order to stay with her. And by the way, she's set in England, in London. So anyway, so they have this like argument, and they leave their like relationship kind of like they're not really sure where it's heading. This is going to be also important in the next, coming up. So anyway, the first evening of the cruise, she ends up like getting ready for dinner. And by the way, she has like a massive hangover because she was so like rattled. She drank a lot, and she drinks a lot through this whole series because of her like nerves and stuff. And that also comes into play. So, anyway, so she's getting ready to go to this fancy dinner. Like everything's like super fancy on this cruise, and the cruise ship it's a yacht, but the cruise ship is owned by this guy named Lord Bulmer. It's like the super rich guy and his wife. And anyway, they're on board the cruise. she's thinking this is like a great opportunity. There are other journalists on this cruise and other like investors, and like this is a great opportunity for her to network, even though she's really not in the mood. She's like still super shaken from the break-in. And anyway, she realizes that she doesn't have mascara, and she's trying to like put on makeup and like dress fancy for this dinner. And so she goes to the cabin next door, cabin 10, and knocks on the door. She's going to try to borrow some mascara. So this girl answers, a young woman, and she's kind of like, she's wearing like a Pink Floyd like graphic tee, and like is dressed kind of like, just kind of like dressed down, like not like the other people on board the ship, right? She seems kind of like, flustered, and it's like annoyed by like the intrusion. So Lo, the main character, she asks if she could borrow mascara, and the girl's like, yeah, hold on, goes and gets her a Maybelline mascara to use. And anyway, at the dinner, she meets like the other people. She meets the Lord Bulmer and his wife. His wife is sick. She has cancer, and they describe her as like being kind of weak and stuff. Anyway, so she ends up like drinking way too much because she's just like still super shaken. One of her ex-boyfriends, who's also a travel journalist or, kind of higher ranks than she is, this guy named Ben Howard, is one of the guests on the ship. He tries to make like a pass at her. She like, gets him away from her, and then she like drunkenly like falls asleep in her cabin. So she, she's like a whole hot mess, right? Anyway, I feel like I'm getting way into details. Let me move on with this. So anyway, so here comes the like scary part, right? So later that night, she's awoken from her sleep. She believes from a scream she hears like a loud splash outside as if a body was thrown into the water. She runs out to the balcony of her room, and she sees like a smear of blood on like this glass like balcony divider that separates from her neighbor's balcony. And she believes she sees like a woman like swirling in the water, okay? So she is so freaked out. She calls security. They come to her room. She's super shaken. She tells the security officer, like the head of security, like what she saw. And he's like, there's nobody in cabin 10. That cabin's been empty because the person who was supposed to be in that cabin didn't come on the trip. Like, nobody's there. And she's like, I know what I saw. He's like, okay, tell you what. Tomorrow morning, first thing, we'll go and see if we can find this woman that you think you borrowed mascara from, right? And she's like, look, I have the mascara right here, okay? Anyway, he's kind of like doubtful because he's like, there's nobody, like, I don't know who you're describing, like, there's nobody there. And when they went to look back out on the balcony, the blood was gone. So somebody's like cleaning up something. Or she could be an unreliable witness, right? Because she's on anti-anxiety medicine that you're not supposed to mix with alcohol, but she drank copious amounts of alcohol. And she also just had a break-in, and so they think like she has, PTSD, and she's kind of like imagining something could have happened that didn't really happen, So she kind of starts to doubt herself, and then she's like, no, but I have this mascara. Like, I know I borrowed this, anyway. So the next day, they visit all the staff members. They go below decks and visit all the staff members, all this kind of stuff, and with the security officer. And there's like nobody like that fits her description. Like, she meets the staff members who fit the description of the girl with dark hair, and anyway, nobody matches. And she's like, whatever. Well, on the itinerary, the ladies are supposed to go to a spa, while the gentlemen go to visit the engine room. And then the next day they were going to like flip-flop, where the men go to the spa and the women go to the engine room, whatever, like on a tour. So the women go to the spa. She ends up falling asleep on the massage table because she's just like been through some trauma, right? So when she wakes up, the shower in the spa room is on like full blast. So it's like all this fog. And she goes to turn the shower off, and she sees on the mirror in the fog, it's somebody wrote "stop digging" like on the mirror.
Classic.
And so she's like real freaked out. Yeah, classic, right? Real freaked out. She runs back to her room, finds that she realizes like her balcony door like can't be locked from the outside because like if you get stuck on your balcony, you have to be able to get back in, is, you know, whatever. Meanwhile, they're like cruising like through these Norwegian fjords. And she realizes the mascara's gone. Okay, so she asks, like, she sees the housekeeping person, like, down the hall, and she's like, did you move my stuff? Like, did you take my mascara? And she's like, no, I'm sorry. Anyway, so this stuff keeps happening, right? And then, you know, it keeps progressing. She's, like, asking her ex-boyfriend about, like, telling him about it. Then she finds out, like, they were trying to figure out, okay, who was unaccounted for last night. Like, she knows this woman went overboard and she wants to know who did it. She, you know, feels like they're in danger, like all this stuff. And they're trying to figure out with the ex-boyfriend, like, who was actually unaccounted for. And he's like, oh, no, we ended up playing poker in Lord Bulmer's room or whomever.
Hold on a second. Is it the ex-boyfriend? I'm guessing it's the ex-boyfriend.
No.
Okay. Well,
no.
I was wrong.
But she starts having doubts about the ex-boyfriend because she finds out the ex-boyfriend told the head security guard, hey, you know, she just had this burglary. She's, you know, has PTSD. And by the way, like, she had some mental health issues, like, when they were in a relationship years before. She's on this medication. She was drinking a lot. Like, he kind of puts doubts into the security director's head. So she starts to not trust him. And he's saying, oh, I didn't mean it like that. I was just kind of trying to explain your behavior to him. And she's like, like his story starts not adding up because then there's some inconsistencies with like, he said all these people were in the poker room, but then she finds out like one of them actually left. So like he lied. Okay. So she's starting to really doubt her ex-boyfriend. And so anyway, so you're kind of going through and you're trying to figure out like, did this actually happen? First of all, and if so, was the ex-boyfriend involved? Was somebody else involved? So, and then we see like, you know, the sick wife of the, Lord Bulmer's name is Anne. We kind of see some more stuff about her where she's like crying and before they go to the spa, like, anyway, there's like a bunch of stuff that kind of like happens that are like real mysterious. So she's like, okay, all I gotta do is stay on this boat, get off at the next dock. She finds out they're skipping a dock because of like weather or something, I don't even know. And they're moving on to this other dock called Trondheim, Norway. And so she's like, all I gotta do is get to the next dock. I can get off of this boat. I can contact the police. You know, all I gotta do is that. So stuff starts happening, obviously. And then at some point, she finds Lord Bulmer. And she tells him, like, he sits down with her and she's like, let me tell you what happened. Nobody believes me. This is what happened on your boat. I don't know what to do. And he's like, okay, like, you know, we're going to get to the bottom of this, whatever. Anyway, and then like different stuff happens. She ends up like, there's a photographer on board. She's looking at the photos on his camera and she sees the girl in question that disappeared on his camera from an event before the cruise. But before she can like ask about her or anything, she's like, okay, he has this photo on his camera. I'm going to use this, you know. The dude's camera ends up falling into the hot tub some kind of way. And all the stuff on his SD card is ruined. So it's like, you know, all this stuff keeps happening where she's like, was it him? Did he have something to do with it? You know, all this, whatever. So the whole time her story is like kind of called into question. There's all these different people on the boat that, you know, kind of are acting mysterious, whatever. So we still don't know, like, does this girl exist? But she, you know, she knows she sees her on the camera, whatever. So, okay, one night, so she's freaking out, right? Like one night she gets like a knock on the door and she's like real scared. So she goes and looks through like the peephole and she waited so long. She sees what she thinks is the girl from the room from cabin 10. She sees this girl, like running off. And she also in this process finds out that the person who was supposed to be in cabin 10 actually, was burgled as well. And that's the reason, like, his passport was stolen. That's the reason he didn't show up for the boat. Okay, so it's like all this stuff happening. So she sees the woman, she believes, running down the hall and running into the staff quarters door. So before the door shuts, she like grabs the door, the staff door, and like follows the woman, and then she's knocked unconscious, and that's the last thing she remembers. She wakes up, she's in a tiny little room that's below deck. She can feel like the engine and the water, like she feels that she's surrounded by water. There's no windows. And so she's like claustrophobic. She's having major anxiety. She's having withdrawals from her anxiety medicine because she hasn't taken it. She doesn't have any food. So basically she's kidnapped and she's injured. Okay. So finally this like hand like reaches in the door and gives her food. And anyway, so she's like, okay, the next time this person comes to bring me something, I'm going to attack them. And she's held in this room for like several days. Anyway, she like breaks the tray and she tries to use the tray as like a, to cut the person the next time they come in. She ends up like attacking the person, and it's a woman. The woman comes in, because she's attacked or whatever. And she sees like the woman has like blood on her face, whatever. So she like wipes off the blood and she sees that the woman is actually Anne, the wife of the rich guy who owns the yacht, right? So she's like, why is Anne like doing this? Anyway, and so, she's like, Anne is sickly, like, why is she doing this? Whatever. So she starts to like kind of psychologically like get this woman on her side. And she eventually figures out that it's not really Anne. It's kind of this girl who looks just like Anne, who made herself look like Anne, right? So the woman like had shaved her eyebrows, because remember that Anne has cancer and had lost her hair or whatever. The woman like apparently had like shaved her head, shaved her eyebrows, and like made herself out to look like Anne was like very sickly, like bony, and just like is impersonating Anne. So we unravel, like, we figure out that Anne was actually the woman who was killed and thrown overboard. The husband, like, orchestrated this because he was going to be with this woman who was impersonating Anne just so, like, nobody would be alerted that Anne was dead, because he's trying to get Anne's money, because Anne's, like, real rich, all this stuff, whatever. So we finally figure out, okay, Anne actually was thrown overboard, and the girl who was impersonating Anne, who was actually the girl in cabin 10 that she originally saw and borrowed the mascara from, helped to kill Anne, and throw her overboard. Like, so Anne was attacked, which the woman didn't do, but the woman threw her overboard, and she admitted, like, I saw that she moved, like she was breathing when I threw her overboard. So she helped kill Anne. Okay, so then now we have to see what's going to happen to Lo, the main character, right? So she's like locked in this room. So she eventually gets the girl, which I forget her name. Oh, her name's Carrie. She gets Carrie on her side. And so Carrie's like, okay, because she's like, Lord Bulmer is going to kill you. Annie's going to kill me. We're all going to die unless you help me. So anyway, we eventually find that they work together. The girl comes in, Carrie, with a plan. She's like, switch clothes with me. You're gonna go out, you're gonna impersonate Anne now. She wraps like, like a headscarf around her head as if she, lost her hair or whatever. She's like, you're gonna impersonate me, get off at this dock, before Lord Bulmer comes on the cruise. In the meantime, the boyfriend, Judah, is like looking for her. She's missing. We get these like news alerts throughout the book, like emails he's sending to people, like, I haven't heard from her in a week. She's missing, blah, 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 all this stuff, whatever. And then, so what happens is Lo actually escapes, and then she's like on the run. She gets to a hotel because she's like been starved this whole time. She gets to a hotel, and she's telling the people what happened, and then they try to turn her in because Lord Bulmer has all these connections, right? So she takes off running. She like ends up sleeping in a barn. It's this whole like trying to get away, like fugitive almost type of thing. And she eventually makes her way, like this old guy farmer finds her, and then she ends up like contacting her boyfriend, contacting the police. They believe her. Then they find out there are actually 2 bodies that were found in the water. One was Lord Bulmer, and they believe it was like, gunshot wound to the head. he's in the water. They think he committed suicide. And then this other body. And previous to this, a body was found with Lo's clothes on. So they think it's Lo because she's been a missing person. And they think it's her. So Judah's like beside himself. Well, long story short, which isn't a long story short because I just went into great detail. Lo actually finds out that the other body that was found was Anne Bulmer, which is the original body that went into the water that she had. So she does not know what happened to Carrie, the girl who was holding her captive and the girl from Cabin 10. And then, she gets back to London. She tells her boyfriend, like, I want to move with you to New York, fresh start, so you can take that job, blah, 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 blah. Lo also assumes that Lord Bulmer killed Carrie because she doesn't hear anything about her. But Lo also doesn't believe that Lord Bulmer committed suicide. Like, she thinks maybe Carrie killed him and was able to escape, but she just doesn't know. So that's kind of the big mystery. Well, anyway, so we see on the news, like, the bodies were found, whatever. Well, they never did find, like, Carrie's body, and then, like, months later, she receives a large money transfer from a Swiss bank account. So she realizes that Carrie did get away, and she used kind of, like, code language in, like, the memo part, and so she knows it's from Carrie, the woman who held her captive, that Carrie saved her life, even though she had put her life in danger, and she got away, and she wired her a bunch of money. And that's the end of the story.
Yeah. Sounds very, like a dramatic detective story. Yeah, mystery.
It was. Yes, it was very good. I enjoyed it. It did keep me guessing, because you have an unreliable, witness, and then all this stuff is happening, and you don't know what happened with Lord Bulmer and Carrie and Anne. So it was a really good book. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting because it was set, in Norway on a boat.
Yeah.
And you have all these factors like going against her, and she still prevailed, even though she's super traumatized, obviously. But she finally made it out, and Carrie made it out, and it's kind of like, she finds this common ground, or at least sympathy for her captor, Carrie. So it's just, it was a really good book.
What was her original motivation for killing, or like participating in the killing of the wife? Was it just money?
Yeah, so she believed that Lord Bulmer loved her, and that they were going to be together. But first she had to impersonate Anne so that there wouldn't be any suspicion, and Lord Bulmer could get the money from his wife's estate.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was her motivation. She was a little bit delusional because she just thought she was actually doing the right thing. But then she kind of like got more than she bargained for by like helping to dispose of a body type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, I feel like I went into way too much detail, but...
Yeah, plot synopses are hard.
It is hard, but yeah, it was very good. I would definitely recommend it to people.
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, so that's my current viewing. That's what I've been doing, and I just finished it, so there you go.
Alright, well, I guess that's everything?
Yeah.
Alright, well, I'll take us out.
Okay.
This has been Beach View. Thanks for listening, and tune in next time. Bye!
Bye!